Oh my gosh, we're live at 7 a.m. Okay. I'm sorry, I have talked this morning.
I don't know.
Hi, everybody.
Jim and Paul do this every day, starting at
Jim Callis
6
and
or whatever time they
what's their show called? I don't want to missay it.
Eagle Country.
Eagle Country.
Eagle Country in the
morning, guys. Hi, everybody. How are you? We're working on our energy this morning. We're gonna do it.
Okay.
You're yawning.
I know. Well, I just had to catch my breath. You know, yawning, they say, is not really because you're tired. It's because you're de-airified, short on oxygen.
I agree. Like when I start working out, and like my heart rate has to go from sitting in my desk at 30 beats a minute to 120. I yawn a lot, like the first 3 minutes.
It's a thing.
I believe it. I'm getting our poll questions.
Okay, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are so happy that you have joined us. Just kidding, no one's joined us yet. We thought we'd try this at 7 in the morning. This will not be normal. Let me just set your expectations right now. But we thought we'd try an early morning edition because maybe while those of you who are putting on your makeup or your deodorant or you're eating breakfast or driving to work, you might want to hear our lovely voices.
Driving to work, I think that's a good, and get the kids ready. We're very soothing for children.
Yeah. I don't know if I can say soothing to children.
That's true.
So here we are.
Good morning.
Live at 7 a.m. The weather has been pretty beautiful here the last several days, and that's been nice.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Outside of the allergies that are going on.
I know. I actually had to keep the window shut last night and click on the air conditioning just a little to kick the heat out of the house. But man, I haven't been really lucky with the allergies. But this year we started sleeping with the windows open. We had the windows open in the office. It's been beautiful, and we sit on the porch in the evening, and I'm just like locked down.
Luckily, where there's real wood in here, haven't been too bad.
There's wood in that somewhere, probably.
But we've got some friends in town from Virginia, and they are suffering horribly.
Oh, from allergies? Oh, shit.
They are just a high allergy family. Like, oh, man. Jack is allergic to dust.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
That's our little guy, right? He's
3.
Yeah. I was going to guess 3, yeah.
So,
for those of you in California, I just heard something about wildfires or something.
Oh, I don't really.
Yeah, and there's some 300,000 acre fire in Canada.
Yeah, I knew
so
about that.
So apparently we're getting all of the wet, or the Midwest is getting all the wet. California's and the West is getting all the dry. It is kind of a mess. I read an article in The Economist yesterday that said, all of this crazy stuff, people are changing their mind about maybe climate change is a thing.
Yeah, I think it is a thing.
It's a thing. Well, I'm a scientist who studied it in 2003.
Yeah,
my PhD program.
You don't have to think. You know it's.
I know it's a thing. How it's going to spin out, of course, is always the bummer because that's a lot of people are suffering. So hearts go out to you guys who are buried underwater and don't know how you're going to make bills for the rest of the year and into next year and all the horrible things that happen when a farmer can't get their crop in the spring. So, it sucks.
But anyway, the summer's beautiful.
It's nice here. It's really nice here finally. So we had a foot of snow a week, like literally 10 days ago, we had a foot of snow. So crazy.
I kind of keep forgetting it was so short ago.
I know. It's amazing how fast our brain adjusts. But anyway, so announcements. We
should stop doing the same thing at the same time.
Okay, you go. You start.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, I'll start.
I'm just making fun of us.
We're super excited. Oh yeah, well, that's easy to do. We're super excited because today we're kicking off our IXAF cohort number 3, and we talked to so many people who are so excited to join us, and in fact, we have several people who couldn't join us this time for whatever the reason, whether it's, they're going on family vacation, they're running around, the timing just didn't work. One of the people we spoke to just has lots going on at work right now. But the good news is we are going to continue to have cohorts as we move forward. So I'm sure you'll hear all about it. So once we get the plan sorted out, usually what we'll do is we'll start the event, we'll start cohort 3, and then we'll have a little bit of downtime, and then we'll ramp up cohort 4 for everybody. So stay tuned for more details on our next round. We are going to be, yay! We haven't gone anywhere together for a really long time.
Not for over 6 months.
Has it? Last December. Yeah. Oh, crazy. So we've been running around in opposite directions, but this weekend, Sunday, we're flying to San Francisco for a couple days at the C-Suite Network is having their Hero Club meeting and their Capital Summit, capital like capital AL like money. And what a great place to have it, San Francisco. And so I'll be on stage on Tuesday. I hope not at the time we just made that other meeting, but
one of us will be on stage on Tuesday.
But we're really excited. We're launching a partnership on Monday. We'll give you the preview. The press releases are going to go out, I think, next Wednesday. But on Monday, we're launching a partnership with the Marketing Impact Council. They're headquartered out of New Jersey. They're a nationwide marketing council where they're looking to make a greater impact with marketing in larger corporations, mostly small companies too, but mostly what they're interested in is getting all the marketing, all of the executives aligned around marketing and the importance of marketing. And because, of course, one of the most important reasons why companies fail is that people don't know they exist. And so marketing is a really critical component to a lot of organizations. So they are working with all kinds of really cool organizations already. They're growing really fast. And so they're going to incorporate our programs for their members. We created a special program for their members that's focused explicitly on marketing and how to create alignment in their marketing teams, either within their team or across the executive team with their CMOs, so chief marketing officers. So that is going to happen rolling out on Monday, and we get to meet all of the members on Monday too. So that'll be really, really exciting. That's in San Francisco. So if you are in San Francisco, please reach out, let us know. We would love, we have commitments, but we also love to have face-to-face meetings. So we definitely want to have an opportunity to meet you and have a cup of coffee, cocktail, and have a chat. So let us know if you're there, and we will try to find time, or we'll let you know where we are. Maybe we can find a place in between to meet. So we'd love to see you. After that, I'm off in June 20th. I'm speaking at an Employment Engagement Awards in New York City. It's actually organized by a UK company out of London, but this is their New York City event. And I'll be speaking on stage there about corporate culture and the importance of retaining talent once you get it. And so, yeah, let me know if you're going to be there. If you're in the New York, New Jersey area, I would love to meet up with you and have a chat. So let me know. I'll be there. I'm on stage on the 20th. The event is on the 20th. I haven't decided when I'm going to fly in and out yet. New York City is an awesome place. I love it. And we have we know lots of people there. But it's also incredibly expensive, and there's lots of costs in the sense of not being here on travel. So if you are around, you want to meet, let me know. And then when I book my tickets, I'll make sure to give us enough time to actually have a conversation. So, all right, what else is going on? There's lots on the calendar.
I don't think anything really too much going on
I guess we're leading an executive retreat tomorrow, so that'll be really fun. That's another thing that we get to do with this one is a 22-member executive retreat, so it's really big for an executive retreat. So we're both doing it, which will also be really fun. What else are you up to? I think that might be it for short term. Yeah. So, but we always say, we've decided to always say, because we're bad at this, is that we are always looking to expand our clients, our people that we work with. So if you have anyone or know any organization that needs a little bit of culture type KCTM IX Leadership Love, just let us know.
Yes, and if you or anyone else is looking to up your game in understanding people, team dynamics, whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, aka crazy, then you should definitely watch the webinar. It's still, I'm sure, on our Facebook page about their IXAF certification course. The next one will start beginning of July, technically, probably after the 4th.
Yeah, we haven't quite set on the start date, but it'll be soon, 6 weeks or something.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. Today, we are talking about community engagement.
Yay.
And why it's important.
We came up with this topic when Shelley and I were at the Billy Sutton Leadership Institute on Sunday, because Meg and I sometimes forget we're so close to what we do that a lot of times I think we forget that sometimes connecting what we do with things that might not be typically corporate or considered corporate is, some people can't make that or don't make that connection. So we thought maybe we should start talking about other ways we use IX leadership outside of corporate America, just for fun.
Yeah. So Rachel and I are both involved in lots of nonprofit organizations. I'm the board chair of, soon to be knighted as the board chair of Northern Hills Junior Achievement.
Oh, look at you. I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. And then I'm
You're
a member
amazing.
of Zonta, which is a women's organization that supports other women and children in need. And what else? I think I'm supposed to be becoming a member of the board of our soccer association.
Oh my God, bless you.
I'm going to volunteer to be like I'll bring cookies.
You make amazing cookies. So this kind of relates to, which way? This way. Page 136 on values a little bit, because part of our corporate value for our company is giving back, having fun, leveraging the energy of people. What's the other one? Providing high value. So, I mean, this relates to the book and IX leadership in a way, because, we say it's all life, right? And we believe that deeply. And so your work, your home should all be aligned with your deepest values. So that's one of the reasons that we love community engagement. We work in the community. You're doing all kinds of things, and your kids are involved in doing civic things and all kinds of fun stuff. I'm working right now in, what the hell am I doing?
Well, the choir.
Yeah. I was involved, this plaque somewhere in this, is there a plaque here? Yeah, so this plaque, I was actually involved with the DC with Fish Hatchery for a really long time. So if you haven't been to Spearfish, it's a beautiful, it's a historic fish hatchery. So it's a beautiful place with turn of the 1900s buildings, and that's been maintained, and there's an underground viewing area with a bunch of big old fish in it. And it was threatened shut down by the Fish and Wildlife Service runs it, and it was threatened to be shut down. And so I led the charge in upholding that and making sure that stayed open. And that was successful and quite an experience. So I was a president during that time. And then so as soon as that was very stressful and highly crazy. But because of my federal background, I was able to kind of navigate a lot of the federal language and the federal rules, which really was handy. And we had amazing community support. And so after the ship kind of got righted and was cruising for a couple of years, I finally rotated off the board, and to let other brilliant minds and good ideas come to the fore. The other thing I did in the community was I started the Black Hills Food Hub, which aggregates food from local farmers, and so they can sell it then to the hospital in Rapid and Mount Rushmore. And so that was I applied and got a USDA grant for that work, and launched that about 4 years ago now. 2 years, I had the grant for 2 years. I partnered with Black Hills State University, And so after a 2-year grant program, they wanted to take it on and continue to run it out of the university. So that's where it lives today. And so I'm not actually involved in that too much right now, but we're always looking. We've got we started my Cappy, my boyfriend and I started a nonprofit called the Ecotone Foundation that is all about sustainable agriculture, natural building, and we are always looking we support other nonprofits. So we have a 501c3, which, by the way, that is not that hard to get. So if you have questions about that, reach out, because I know a lot of you are do-gooders in your own way. So anyway, I applied for that. I did all the paperwork, so it's not that overwhelming. 501c3, and we support. So we are a fiscal sponsor of other do-gooders who do similar work, but they don't have their 501c status. So sometimes you need that to apply for grants and things. So anyway, I guess that's kind of the things that we do in the community.
Yeah. So one of the questions that came up on the poll was that got no votes, because I think it
got buried, I think, too.
Well, I think it's perceived as kind of a duh. So it's why is community engagement important? And I think that it does seem obvious, but the one mistake I know I've made, and I see other people make, is if you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So, people do it because they're talked into it and they can't say no most of the time. And so it's then you're trying to figure out how to fit this into your schedule or whatever. So one lesson that I've learned certainly about community engagement is engage in things that are really important to you, and give yourself your own term limits in any engagement that you're in. If you've accepted some role where you're whatever, head cookie maker or the president of the organization, a lot of these organizations don't have term limits, and they do that on purpose. So
because it's volunteers, right?
The people that are in there get to stay in that role forever. But then you see, you see organizations sort of ebb and flow. And the ebbing part is usually right. Ebbing is usually when the president or some important member of the organization who has an important role just really gets burned out. So I think that the important thing about community engagement is that you do the things that you're passionate about, and you actually commit yourself in ways that you can actually commit yourself. And I found an interesting little article here. So what are the 5 qualities that make a great community service worker or great community service member? And this follows along pretty nicely with what we say makes just a generally good IX human. So empathy and organization professionalism, I would say, wrap into accountability. And then patience.
Why do you think we're presidents of the organizations that we're involved in?
Yeah. Have patience for you to be the president.
There is a pattern.
Yeah. And then flexibility, which I think that one's the most important one, maybe. I mean, they're all important, but that one is really important. I listened to a gentleman talk a couple weeks ago at Black Hills Leadership Development, and he's big in community engagement and supporting communities. And he actually was however Rapid City is structured, he was like a city councilman or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And he said what I had to learn quickly and always keep in the back of my mind was that any idea I had, as soon as it left my lips, came out of my mouth, it was then our idea. And I had to accept that something was going to change about it, and that it might actually be hardly any of what I started, but the fact that I started it and I was there to help with it and whatever, then it became our idea. So flexibility, I think, is really important when you're in a community, any kind of community engagement.
That is a really great insight and ties into IX really well, because one of the things we spoke about this weekend was, when you want to lead a project in a community, you're going to have to work with all the culture types. And so the chaos culture types might be taking what you think is a pretty half-baked, maybe baked idea and wanting to change it and make it their own, right? Because that's what we like to do. We like to see new connections and new ways and bring our own values to the fore and really work on that stuff. At the same time, you're going to have the order people who are going to resist change generally and you can work with them to get them on board and how to do that. But I think that's such an interesting way to think about it. Like once your idea is in the community, then people are going to push and pull and remold it into something that's hopefully related, unlike sometimes our legal process, but or a political process, but hopefully related and can pull it out.
Yes, and that gentleman's name was Malcolm Chapman, just not taking credit for his good quote.
Right, but I like the idea of thinking about that. All right, so where and how do you start being more engaged in your community? That one I think is, it seems simple, like show up at a meeting, but I think there is a bit of a balance. I think don't decide on what you want to do. Like a lot of times we see something cool, let's say an event, and we think, I want to be part of Spread the Tunes. Spread the Tunes and Spearfish does this amazing acoustic music series, and then they donate all of the money to the fish hatchery or some other organization. It's a great event. It's free for the public. And so I might think I want to go be a part of that, and then I show up. The hard part is that there's a lot of these community engagement groups that might not be that fun to be a part of. So that might be one person being a dictator and forcing their ideas. It might be that it's, there's a bunch of people that sit around the table and they argue, or there's weird awkwardness because someone's been on the board for 20 years and people that just started and this new starting people want to change and this guy doesn't want them to. Not that I would know what that's like or anything, but I'm
not a personal story.
Not a personal story.
Speaking for a friend,
right? As a friend of mine. But so what I would recommend, I guess, just from a strategic perspective for your own sanity, is to sit in on a couple meetings and to see what the dynamic looks like. And so don't show up and go, yeah, I'm going to be a part of it. Wait, like kind of interview them, because your time is the most valuable thing that you have. And getting it trapped in a group that you feel like you can't extricate yourself out of very well is really miserable. So when you decide you want to, and maybe think about how much you want to commit. Do you want to commit an hour a week, 5 hours a week, 2 hours a month? And then really try to stick with that a little bit, because it's, for us chaos people, it's super easy to get into a meeting and be like, ooh, that sounds fun. I'll do that. I want to be involved. I want to do this, and dive in. And then pretty soon you're responsible for some big event in the summer that's taking 20 hours of your week for the month of June, and you end up hating it and, walking, or just hating it, making everyone in your life miserable. So, that's one about time management that the chaos people really stink at, is the level of commitment that you want to do. So just kind of be sure that you lock into what you think you can commit to based on your other involvement in other activities.
Yeah, and I would say that for folks who are order tolerant, a lot of times these groups, nonprofit groups, are particularly ones that seem moving, like they're moving and shaking, are typically run by chaos tolerant people. And so if you would like to be part of an organization that has a very structured cadence, they know when their meetings are, they know what their events are, they know what has to happen, and there's obviously always going to be some change, but there's not a lot of change, then definitely that might be a more comfortable setting. Doesn't mean you couldn't stretch and do some other stuff, and maybe this is a great way, whether you're chaos or order tolerant, to stretch into what may not be comfortable to you, and maybe it's team, if you're self-driven, stretch into the team side of the house and get into something that's not so comfortable. So, but if you don't want to do that, then be mindful of, like the Spread the Tunes people, if they, find some traveling band that happens to be floating through Spearfish and they put on a pop-up event one night, and you're just like, oh my God, that was so fun to go to. But then you ask a few questions and realize that's how that event came to be. That might make you crazy. So something to keep in mind. I think another thing that's important is just to kind of look around the room and see how people communicate with each other. I think the big difference for community-based organizations versus like actual for-profit organizations is everyone's a volunteer, nobody's paid. That means individuals' perception is everyone could possibly be the boss. And I think that creates a little bit of a different style of team dynamics. And, I mean, I'm actually, as the board chair for junior achievement, I'm going to make everybody take the culture type assessment, so I know what I'm dealing with. And you could do that, if you pick a board, you decide you pick a board or event that you want to be involved with, and you start working with them. Then you could say, hey, let's all take this fun assessment together. But I think that's really important. I worked with a bunch of order tolerant folks who had been putting on the same event very successfully for many years. And, I came in and I said, hey, let's redo the sponsorship letter so we can ask for more money. And they're like, wow, we couldn't do that. We're a small community. We can't ask people for more money, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, we can. And I said, it's not like, we're not going to make us look greedy.
We've always done it that way.
Yeah, we've always done it that way. So, I mean, even though I could work with that group, and I did for a very long time, and we worked fine together, but there were some really uncomfortable meetings, really uncomfortable. I mean, even for me.
And that is saying something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Because I would I had to finally just say, well, for the love of God, we're all here for the same reason.
Why can't we all just get along?
Why
are we yelling?
So, yeah, I think really understanding the dynamics of those teams is important, because everyone is perceived leader in their own mind.
And sometimes in their own organization, like some sort of premier, as you guys know, some of the sort of premier nonprofits in your communities are all filled with the president of the bank and the blah blah and the head of whatever organization.
That's a great point.
And then you all get together, because this is what happens when we do board retreats and executive retreats. Everyone thinks that they're in charge, and they are in charge of their own world, and then they get together and they can't wait for someone else to finish talking, or they can't honor somebody else's way of working, and so it can be those actually what we see is a lot of those sort of premier boards probably are the most dysfunctional, frankly, because they can't actually execute. So again, to what we always say is the best is to have some order people that can actually move forward with things, and then the chaos people who can push, like, hey, we've literally done this for 20 years and everyone that attends is over 60, so wouldn't it be great to get some young families involved? Again, story from a friend.
Speaking for a friend. Speaking for a friend.
That the hard part again is we need each other, but that makes it hard to move forward together. So the more you know about IX leadership and culture types and can help other people understand what's the dynamic and honoring what they need and helping them honor your need to move this forward and not feel like the bully in the room. I think Kayla mentioned that in our group on Sunday. Not feel like the bully in the room. That's really important, because we're all there for the best of reasons, right? So,
yeah. And I'll just reiterate, because I've had to learn this lesson hard in my life several times. Just because you ask how you can be involved or help. So if you go up and ask the coach of your kid's soccer team, hey, I'd really like to, I think this is a great association. I'd really like to help out however I can. Just because you ask and use words like however I can does not mean that you don't get to pick what that means.
That's true.
So, I think a lot of people don't ask to be engaged in community things or whatever that they do every day. Like my kid is at soccer 3, 4, 5 days a week. So it's something that's in my life. I'm already doing it. How can I contribute to it? But I think a lot of people don't ask because they're, we're all afraid, like, oh God, they're going to ask me to be the president. They will. And you can say, no, thank you. I'm not, I simply do not have time for that. Right. I would not choose to make time for that right now. And then they'll say, well, none of us want to make time for it, blah, blah, blah.
But we do it.
Yeah, but we do it. And you can say, well, we all really appreciate that. And I'd like to help however I can. So don't be afraid to ask, go walk up to whoever's organizing the event you're interested in and say, I'd like to learn more. But whatever, then if they say, oh, okay, well, I mean, this is happening to me. I can't tell you how many times. Oh, well, we're looking for a new president, new secretary, new blah, blah. You'd be perfect. Well, let me tell you a little secret. Everyone would be perfect. Anyone would be perfect.
Heartbeat. If you got a heartbeat,
right? They're like, let's see. You'll be great. So I just want to reiterate, don't be afraid to pick what your involvement is, because that I think is the most important thing that you choose to do so that you can be committed to whatever you're agreeing to.
One of the other funny things about like thinking about soccer, so our daughters are in what apparently are rival gang soccer associations.
Yeah, and then there's those dirty Spearfish United kids. There's 3 soccer associations in Spearfish.
Oh, are there? I don't even know.
Yeah.
So that's the other weird thing is, there's all this weird, apparently the soccer people in Spearfish couldn't get along, and so they split into these different groups. And we're a town of 10,000 people. So it is kind of silly to have these groups. And again, that probably came around from frankly, a lack of IX version of leadership, which is, okay, we all have different ways of seeing the world here. How can we work together? So instead of figuring out how to work together, they just said, fine, we'll go our way, you go your way. And now Meg's daughter, who is in U10, probably, my daughter who's in U12, we can't, like, the big bummer is we don't even get to go to the same frigging tournaments and stuff because we're in different associations. It's like we should be having all of our girls in the same group. Like, I don't care, but when I applied or Alex wanted to play, I was like, sure, whatever. I just picked the first thing that I Googled, Spearfish Soccer, thing came up. I didn't know. So maybe educating yourself, not that we are in any way give a crap about the politics that made this happen. It's just, I was a little bit ignorant and I didn't even have a clue that there was more than one version. And even if I'd done all the research, maybe I've made the same decision, but there is that kind of weird stuff that happens in the community too. So, yeah. So that's what, I guess our last question is how to use IX leadership.
Okay, before we
example.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Before we full on answer that last question, I have a hilarious story about volunteering gone wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I have several, but this one is my favorite about my inability to deal with other people's children and lots of noise. So the girls both did dance when they were little.
Tiny.
Joey still does it, but when they were tiny, they both did dance. And they were looking for volunteers at the recital to sit with the kids in the backstage. Well, in my naivete, I didn't really process or know that like a dance recital. I mean, I grew up playing sports, so I know nothing about this. I didn't know that a dance recital is 2.5 hours long. I also wanted to really test my theory that I don't like other people's children. Boy, I was right. God bless teachers and like maybe medical professionals. I had snot on me. There was like
other kids snot on.
Other kids
It's not the same as your own kid's snot.
Right. And like there's the pee pants kid in the corner, and then there's someone crying over here. So one kid is like smashing up goldfish with her palm just for fun. The other little girl keeps escaping. I mean, I was like almost in tears. And then I thought from that day on, I made this mistake one other time, a couple years ago. I volunteered to do it again. So every year now our girls dance together, and every year the sign-up sheet goes up or the whatever message goes out. Oh, we need help, blah, 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 blah. And Rachel, God bless her, she does it. Not me. She goes, hey, you want to come? Nope. Well, I'll sit with you. No, I can't. Not. I will sit and endure the watching of the recital for 5 hours. I will not go in the back.
Well, the nice thing is that the older the girls get, the more they're just totally put together. So then all I have to do is make sure that they didn't put on some backwards or something. So it's actually I did not volunteer when the kids were babies.
Oh my
The older they get, the happier I am.
There were some moms in there that were just
I know.
totally in the element.
They love it. They love
Her
it.
little, God bless her. Should we call her the soccer mom in our friend
Soccer
group?
group, yeah.
In life.
Oh, just in life.
But her kids dance too, and she is just like on it. She's got the hairspray. She's like has a belt with like she's like a carpenter belt. She's like got her hairspray and this and like here's a lipstick. Which color do you want? I'm just like, what in the hell? You have some sort of magic unicorn power that I do not understand.
I know. That's why you gotta love people not like you, right? This is the whole IX leadership philosophy.
Yeah.
Appreciate people that aren't like you, even when they drive you crazy or make you feel wholly inadequate.
Yeah. Well, I finally just said to her, I want you to know that you make me feel wholly inadequate, but I really appreciate that you're helping me with my job.
Oh my God, thank God those people exist. I know, they're amazing. All right, so the last thing we've got is the IX leadership in your community. So what we did this weekend was we worked with a bunch of do-gooders, badass do-gooders who are off creating plans and community engagement plans around a topic that they're really passionate about. And one of the things that we talked about a little bit on Sunday was this idea that when you work in the community, when you work in any team, but talking about community engagement specifically, you are inviting people on a journey with you through the KCTM. So through that Kurt's Change Transition Model, which includes sad things, happy things, hard things, long, like it takes time, which us active people who want action, us chaos people have a hard time being patient about. And so thinking about that, I think part 2 in the book, the whole part 2 is about the KCTM. But, when you think about, that's part 3, wasn't it? Oh no, did I just go by it?
Yeah.
Anyway, part 2 is 60-ish. I could look at the table of contents. That'd be far too easy. So 69, page 69, change is thrilling. Change is thrilling. You're inviting people along on this journey with you. And all 4 of those culture types that you're going to run into, the hardest part about community engagement is you have 0 authority. You have 0 authority. You have desire, you have influence, you want to rally people to your cause, but you cannot make them do anything. You don't have any authority. So that means that you have to really work twice as hard to build trust, build commitment, make sure you're communicating early, invite people to the table early. It's sort of like when we do consulting work, we're working with one company for a year, and guess what? We are not there all the time. So what we have to, and we really don't have any authority. We can't make people do anything. And so it's really hard to figure out that rhythm when you first get started about, okay, well, I walk in and I can tell them whatever I think, but they don't have to do anything. And so how do you actually get people on the same page and supporting what's going on in the effort without being able to actually tell them what to do? Because that's what a lot of us fall back on, right? We end up in roles where we can say, I don't care, I know you don't like it, go do it anyway. Guess what? That's not what you have. So you have to be able to understand where they're coming from, what kind of stakeholders you have. We can put that I worked with the stakeholder management grid this weekend, so we can put that in the files. I think Shelly's watching. She might be driving in, but we'll have Shelly post that to the group so that you can use that, print that out, use it. And it's understanding how stakeholders work, who you have as people that might care about your project, and then thinking about the next step is what culture type might they be and how are they going to need to hear the information. So those are some tools, like practical tools you can use when you think about community engagement. Giving them all the culture type assessment too is great. We do have, for those of you who don't know, we have a free culture type assessment on our website. It's, I think there's a button somewhere, discover your culture type, and click that and it'll take you through a free assessment. You get your result back right away, but you don't get the scatter plot piece, but at least you would know like kind of what quadrant they're in, which would be really insightful for you. Because a lot of times the behaviors that people have don't reflect their core culture type, because either they try to be nice, or they don't like conflict, so they'll never say to your face that they don't like it, but they'll go away and they'll tell everybody else they don't like it. And so understanding that dynamic, I think, will be really, really helpful.
Yeah. And I think that if you're part of a group, because no one has any authority, and because you know, from an individual perspective, you don't have any authority, the one thing that everyone can agree on in these groups is that they're there for a cause. And so doing the values crest, which is not in the book, but doing the values crest, if you read the section on values and then put together a set of 4 core values that everyone on your group sort of aspires to. So, you know, and a lot of times if you're in an organization that is a chapter of some other organization, like a global or a national or an international organization, people say, well, we're obviously here because, you know, the manual for junior achievement, the website says we're here for these reasons. Well, yeah, that's great, but maybe that's not actually why a lot of the people in your group are there. So I would say set some core values for your group, you know, take 20 minutes and just talk about that as a group. And you don't have to be the president of the organization. You can just simply say, hey, you know, when there's any new business, you can say, hey, you know, I was just thinking about, here's the reason I'm here. I'd love it if we could go around the table and share why we're all here. And even if that's the end of the values, the values, and you don't develop a crest and then like say some sort of a, you know, values blessing at the beginning of every meeting, you still understand. Everybody's sitting there saying, oh yeah, well, you know, Rachel, whatever, is a PhD geologist, just kidding, geographer. I know the difference.
You better know now.
Geographer, and she really studied weather patterns, and so the fish hatchery is super interesting to her because blah 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 thing. And you didn't know that before about her. And so maybe when she starts to really, you know, in the meeting starts to really nerd out about the health of the fish because of a lack of rain or whatever thing, you're like, oh yeah, that's why that's important to her and that's why she's here. So let's give her 5 seconds to talk about it. And then we can all say, okay, that's great, and blah, blah, blah. So I think that understanding why people are doing what they're doing, and if you can if you do have the opportunity to sort of set a standard of core values, why we're all here right now, why do we show up every time, then it does make it a little easier to get through those arguments. You know, when people are seeing 2 very different sides of one coin, you can say, okay, Bob, I understand that. And Rachel actually did this with a chamber group, and they're like businesses in a small town there to support the community. You know, that was the real reason when they all kept showing up, but their perspective on it was literally pointing in opposite directions. And so setting the core values really helped them kind of get their head around why are we all here and why should we work together. And this stuff is magic, but don't expect that you won't still have hard conversations, or that people they're still going to be who they are and have their own opinions. But if you use Mad Hatter principle and set some core values, it helps you. It's really a gift to yourself so that you don't get all wound up. There's nothing, I think, more tragic to see than people who leave some nonprofit meeting and they're just pissed, frustrated. You know, I've done it. I've seen other people do it. You know, it's like, God, I need a drink after that one. And, you know, frustration happens, but if you're constantly frustrated, then, I mean, is it really worth it?
They're not going to be there very long. And that's the hardest thing about community work is keeping and retaining volunteers. You know, volunteer burnout is a thing because what'll happen is you get a chaos person in there who wants to help. They end up acting as sort of the stabilizer of the organization because they're in it for, like in my case, I don't know, 7 years or something. And so I was always that present in all the things. And that's not my zone of genius, right? That's not my culture type. I want to be that sort of new ideas. Let's keep doing things. And then over time, you can become that stabilizer person. And then you leave. In my case, I had a very robust, amazing group that all are very passionate. And so I left and someone just stepped in. And so it didn't fall apart. But we have seen other organizations where, you know, they were driven by one person, really dynamic, big personality, and then they get burned out because they can't rally people to their cause, and then they end up leaving over a few years, and then the organization basically collapses because there were no order tolerant people to carry the torch, basically. So,
yeah.
All right. I think that's it for today, right?
I think so.
Awesome. And if you have any questions, there's a weird delay in Facebook Lives if you're not used to watching them. So if you have any questions and for some reason we shut the live down before we see them, we'll answer them in the comments. But it might be kind of fun if you have a ridiculous community engagement volunteer story that you want to share.
Yeah.
Or frankly, maybe what we can do is start a post where we all share what we're doing in the community, because I would love to know everything that you guys are doing, and frankly, so we can support it, or just give you a crisp high five if Rochelle's on, crisp high five, or watching the replay, because what you're doing is awesome, and we're really thrilled that such amazing people are part of our community. So awesome.
Yeah.
Shelly just walked in. Hey, Shelly.
Morning.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Oh, sorry. You're going to do the sign off.
No, go ahead. Whatever you're saying. You're saying anything else?
No.
Okay. Lead powerfully.
Change the world. See you next week. Bye.